it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your Energy and Ascension forecast for Sunday, February 26th to Saturday, March 4th. So last week, of course, we entered into our very first full week of Pisces season. We entered into Pisces season on the 18th, of course, closely followed by the new moon in Pisces on the 20th. And just hours after that new moon peaked, we had Venus enter into her brand new cycle in Aries energy. So definitely a lot of highs, certainly a lot of lows. And of course, according to the Schumann Resonance, we had pretty much a huge timeline jump, a huge purge, a huge cleansing. We'll talk about that in just a second, but the evidence is definitely there. Now, this week, we are closing out February, so of course we have to wrap up those particular life lessons. Go ahead, go back, go listen to the February energy forecast intro, just to refresh your mind on what the life lessons were, what we were supposed to achieve in February, see where it is that you're at, what lined up for you, what didn't. And of course, we are entering into March. March is the biggest month of 2023. It is probably the biggest month in God knows how long because we have some major astrology taking place that most people don't get to witness in their lifetime. So this is a pretty big deal. It's also contributing to the, I'm going to say, overwhelming endings and chaos that we're currently feeling as well. There are rapid cycles, as I've been mentioning. There are multiple cycles that are at ending points. And that's why we are definitely feeling the pressure, the squeeze. We are definitely realizing where endings and closures are taking place in our lives, where life will never be the same ever again. And collectively speaking, we are definitely dipping our toes into what is going to be a very interesting next 20-year cycle when Pluto enters into Aquarius. And of course, in March, we have Saturn moving into Pisces as well, not to mention all of the other very intricate astro energies popping off. That's really going to help us kind of cut the cord with the past and open the door to the future. Now, of course, with a new month, I hope my brain can start working a little bit better than it has been the last couple of days because I have all of my zodiac forecasts to do. I have all of my subscription forecasts to do for March, and yet my brain does not want to work. So let's hope that over the next couple of days, a miracle takes place and suddenly I grow a better, more brilliant brain and my mouth decides to work and we can actually, start crossing some of these things off the list. What I'm getting at is that we're about to enter into a brand new month with a brand new energy, with a brand new life lesson. I will definitely be going on a rant, not only in those individual zodiac forecasts, but of course, when the March energy forecast drops, we will definitely be going over the highs and lows of what we can expect to take place in March. But it's definitely bringing in a brand new energy. It's kind of divvied up because, of course, we enter into March, still in Pisces season. We're anticipating that brand new astrological calendar popping off when we enter into Aries season towards the end of March. So it very much is this door, this portal, if you will, where we are wrapping up the loose ends of the chapter of the life lessons of the version of ourselves that we've had to be for this past year. And we are essentially going to push ourselves through this doorway, through this portal, and enter into a brand new reality that is going to be very wacky because adjustments are never easy. And we have a lot coming at us in March, and it's definitely going to reveal different path, different direction, different version of ourselves, different topics, different themes, different level of chaos. And of course, when we dive into what the month has in store on March 1st, we will definitely have a better picture on what it is that we're going to have to boss up and be prepared for. Now, this week, we also have Mercury wrapping up his particular time in Aquarian energy. Of course, it has been quite the whirlwind in our brain, in our mental plane, in our thoughts and our ideas over the last couple of weeks. So having Mercury being in this Aquarian energy, of course, we've been thinking outside the box. We've been thinking about the future, the possibilities of the future. We've been thinking about where it is that we need to do better, where it is that we need to improve, where it is that we need to grow, what it is that we can do differently. And for the most part, just been in this dazed and confused kind of state. Now, yes, Pisces energy adds to that confusion, but having Mercury, the lower level intellect in Aquarian energy, which is the highest form of our intellect. There's been an overwhelming pressure and intensity in our headspace that I think we will welcome a shift when Mercury dives into Pisces energy. But also keep in mind, we move out of the higher level intellect of that Aquarian energy and we do a deep dive in our soul self when we move into Pisces energy. Now, Mercury being in Pisces, there will be a whole astro forecast that'll drop, that'll do a deep dive on what we can really expect to experience with Mercury being in Pisces. But just keep in mind that A, we're hypersensitive, B, we're blending our intellect with our intuition, C, we're very imaginative, very creative, and D, there's a lot of negative narratives that need to come up in order for us to put a death and a closure to them so that we can start fresh when Mercury moves into Aries energy. Another great reminder, here's Mercury entering into Pisces energy, the ending cycle, the closure cycle, the death cycle, in order to prepare us for something new. So again, just kind of reminding you that there's multiple cycles, all kind of at their own pace, but there's a lot of overlap with these individual cycles because many of them are at the ending degree, the ending chapters, the closure chapters of their particular cycle as well. So we are going to really dive into this week, and it is going to feel very extreme. It is going to feel very, very intense, likely pushing the boundaries, likely pushing us to our breaking point, likely pushing us to our limits. Now, in no way do I mean to constantly be talking about the bad, the shadow aspects. But again, I just need to remind you that, here in the New Age community, there's a lot of focus on, the positive qualities, and nobody ever talks about the not so nice qualities. And, when you're constantly talking about, Pisces energy, dreamy, imaginative, healing, soul connection, twin flames, blah, 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 that's a delusion all in itself. And that's what Pisces energy is all about, is delusion. And so why I like to bring the bad parts up is because that's what's real. We're going through a stage of life right now where we're trying to lighten the emotional baggage, lighten the trauma, lighten the load in order for us to be the lightest, fluffiest versions of ourselves so that when we move into the new astrological calendar, we're not kind of hindered or restricted by all of this old crap that we've been carrying. So there is a want, a need, a desire, whether consciously or subconsciously, to dive into the darkest parts of what these particular energies have to offer so that we can clean out the closet and make sure that we have nothing else hidden in those closets that's going to pop out at us and ruin a good thing. That's where self-sabotage comes in. That's why it's so important to do the shadow work, because the last thing that we all want is to work our ass off, get into a space where we're finally happy, we're finally excited, where good things are happening to us, and then have that self-sabotaging attitude come back with a vengeance because we didn't deal with the skeletons in our closet like we should have. So this is where we dive into cleaning out those closets. And again, I don't mean to be negative all the time. I don't mean to focus on the bad parts all the time, but there is a large group of us here in the collective, again, that are transmuters, that are taking the unconscious energies from the collective and really pushing it through our vessels, because we are electrical vessels that have the ability to take something dark and turn it into light, to take something painful and turn it into power. That's what our jobs are. So typically speaking, we are constantly dealing with the shadow realm, with the darker forces, with the not so nice thoughts and feelings, because that's where the work is right now. And we are here to work. So when I say to you, if you have the attitude, you might not be like at the end ready to call it quits as in end your life, but there is this want, need, and desire for this to be over. Many of us craving to go back home, craving to be at a sense of peace, at a sense of joy, but also realizing that we chose to be here, that we have a very important mission that we can't abandon, and that we're here just to kind of get the job done so we can go the hell home. So we are going to be feeling that particular feeling a lot more intensely as Pisces season moves on, as we dive into the craziness that is March. And, if you're out there and just kind of whiny and cry because you don't want to do this anymore, I feel you. It doesn't help with all these Ascension symptoms popping off over these last couple of days. It doesn't make it any easier to be strong and to be powerful in our mind space and to have that resiliency and that perseverance, that determination, that motivation to continue fighting. Sometimes you just have to give yourself a day to be whiny and complain and lay down and cuddle up and just think about what it would be like if we could go back to sleep, so to speak, and just walk around and not be affected by any of this. Sometimes that's the dream. However, that is a dream that we will never be able to manifest in this lifetime, because once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep, unfortunately. And so here we are, we're in the trenches, so to speak. We're tired of this crap. We just want to see change, but the changes that we're seeing are kind of on the dark side of things. And may I remind you that life isn't getting worse. Life was always like this. We're just uncovering and unearthing a lot of the things that everybody wanted to turn a blind eye to. The world is not getting worse. It has always been like this. Granted, we do have the evildoers kind of hyping up their scheme in order to really push their agenda, because they know that their narrative is failing. So they're coming out with all of these horrible catastrophes, all of these man-made events in order to invoke fear, because you need people to be in fear in order for them to reach a level of desperation where they will literally look to anyone for guidance. They need the population to be impressionable. They need people to be at their worst. They need people to be in that state of desperation because they're easily controlled under that particular emotion. And so this is why you're seeing all of these horrific events take place. These are all man-made, guys. So don't think that this is, the biblical prophecies coming to life. We talked about this in last week's Ascension forecast, and I thank you for those of you that are on the same page and resonate with my message and understand that this isn't, prophecy coming to life. It is the evildoers that wrote the book just fulfilling the plans and the promises that they wrote in the book. And so there is an extra amount of chaos going on in the world right now in order to try and for them to regain their narrative and control and their power, because a lot of people just aren't having it. Like, we literally don't care. And what's funny is that we're finally at the point where you have all the sleepers, the normies walking around saying, the aliens are coming, the aliens are coming. And, us tinfoil hatters that know better, we're like, no, damn, sorry, it's not. Took you long enough to get on the alien page, and now that you're here, you're wrong about it. But anyways, good on you. Wake up. Keep your eyes up to the sky, because that's how you're missing all of the other distractions in the world. So they got you focused on something that doesn't even matter. Anyways, I know that was a rant all in itself, but I feel in my own personal journey, in my own personal emotions and energy, that we're reaching this particular point that we always reach in Pisces season. By the way, as a reminder, this is not new. We always reach the end of our ropes in Pisces season. We always reach the point where we feel like we're going to break. Again, may I remind you, there always needs to be a breakdown before a breakthrough. This is the breakdown. Aries energy, the new calendar, is the breakthrough. Now, granted, we are about to move into a very interesting time that humanity has never, ever experienced thus far. And that's why everything is so shaky and uncertain. Even seers and channelers and, psychics, we're having a hard time because there's multiple timelines popping off right now. They're operating at the same rate. They're unfolding exponentially. And it's really hard to grasp what kind of vision, what kind of dream that we are actually going to be creating here, because the collective is so divided and has their attention evenly distributed on multiple timelines. So therefore, it's making it very hard to actually project where it is that we're going from here. What we know to be true is that the old timelines, the old narratives of power and control and suffering, they are collapsing. But this is the furthest that we've ever been in humanity's evolution. So therefore, there is this uneasiness that even the most stable people are feeling, because we literally are watching the world end as we know it. We are going to see the world kind of collapse in a way that will never be revived once again. Now, I know that sounds pretty deep and pretty dark. It doesn't need to be. It's just matter of fact. And what we're doing here is we're evolving. That's the whole point of coming to Earth, is to have our souls evolve. That's what we're doing. So we're doing a good job. But may I just remind you that when we feel uneasy, when we feel uncertain, there is a little bit of fear that kind of creeps up in us because of those particular emotions. And what we need to do, especially when we have Saturn move into Pisces early March, is we have to find our stable, grounded footing inside of us. This is going to push us into a new spiritual maturity so that it will not matter what goes on around us in our external realm. We will not be rocked. We will not be swayed, because we will be so strong within our spiritual selves. And just know that things might be uncertain, things might be unstable, but we know that there's a greater, grander plan, that it's working ourselves out, and that all we need to do is stay in the right mind frame, stay in the right vibration, frequency, emotion, in order to stay as strong as possible in our inner realm, so that the outer realm does not dictate whether we are at peace or whether we are in pieces. So we got a lot going on. Now, I kind of jumped into my rant. I do apologize for that. The homework that I usually do is just a thank you. So let's cover that right now before I go on another tangent. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for showing up, for sharing your energy, for spending your time. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting. I want to thank you to those of you that send me these small little donations on these new little, I don't even know what they're called, short super fan thanks, likes. I don't know what it's called. Anywho, I thank you for that. I thank you for those that have jumped over to Patreon to actually provide me with a little bit of support and stability over there, because YouTube has absolutely hacked my page. I wish I could understand what has happened. Now, I know I went off on a little bit of a rant last week and popped some words out that likely put up some red flags and had me even further censored, but it's absolutely devastating to me that YouTube is doing what it's doing to people like myself that aren't really talking a whole lot of topics and themes compared to other people out there, and yet I'm being silenced. And it's for true, it's for real. Like, trust me when I say that it's not just me making this up. Like, it's actually happening, and it really is bothering me. It's funny, I'll kind of share this little tidbit. So as a creator, sometimes you get invited to take surveys or to sit on a panel, and YouTube asks you a bunch of questions on how you feel about the platform and, certain formats and the new things that they're adding and stuff like that. And they sent me a wrong thing to do on their part, but they sent me an invitation in order to join this survey and this panel discussion, and I ripped them a new hole, and I cannot wait to see the backlash, either negative impact on my channel as proof, as evidence to me that if you speak up and tell the truth, even to their face when they ask you for the truth, that you will be punished, that you will be denied. Or I hope that by some, miracle, they actually read it and they recognize, hey, maybe we should stop doing this because people are going to stop using this platform, and maybe they'll change their ways and hopefully make it a little bit more easily acceptable to talk about real life things in a real life context, where your community, where your like-minded individuals can come together and not feel so alienated and cray-cray. That's what I'm hoping for. But anyways, I don't know if I'm expecting to hear anything back from them at all or not, but I did not hold back. I am 100% myself, my truthful, transparent self, and I ripped them a new a-hole. And let's just hope that that new a-hole actually does something. Good or bad, doesn't even matter to me at this point, because I got the support from all y'all lovely souls out there. There's other ways to support me other than here on YouTube, and I appreciate y'all for doing that, because I just ran my mouth in a very serious kind of way to basically, quote unquote, the boss. YouTube's thinking that they're the boss of content creators. I'm sorry, sir, but our ideas can be better expressed on other platforms if you don't want to provide the platform and the audience in order to hear our messages. Anyways, that'll probably be the last time I get invited to speak on anything to do about YouTube, but I just thought I'd share that with you guys because, as I mentioned last week, over the last month, 2 months, My channel has definitely taken a hit. My stats have taken a hit. My bank account has taken a hit. And after last week about going on about, certain current events, every single time I talk about current events, and I try to be as cryptic as possible, every single time I talk about current events or I talk about the Bible, I get shot down. Bang, bang, shot down. So anyways, if that doesn't kind of, trigger and activate the previous incarnations that we've all had where we got burned at the stake or killed or hanged or stoned for telling the truth, no wonder so many of us have had a hard time actually standing up and standing in our truth in this lifetime, because that residual effect of literally dying for speaking the truth is very much alive in our soul space. And this is just a modern day example. Cancel culture is like the new burning at the stake. And it is just a cluster effery of where it is that this hive mind is going to be taking us. And especially once AI kicks in full force with Pluto moving into Aquarian energy, let's hope that we're able to focus on the good qualities of AI and really put up some boundaries and restrictions to make sure that AI can't take over the world in the negative connotation that these evildoers want it to happen in. We definitely don't want that. And it's just going to be super interesting to see the evolvement of technology, including this platform that you're currently listening to me on. Because as far as I'm concerned, these guys either need to be a little bit more raw and authentic and transparent and really honor freedom. Freedom is a word that not many people actually get to use authentically anymore, because I don't know where freedom actually lives in this world anymore. Certainly not online, certainly not with YouTube. And you know what? If I am being censored in any kind of way or monitored in any kind of way, I hope that they're taking notes, because I am not happy with this platform. And I know, just speaking to other creators, they are not happy either. They are feeling the punch and the squeeze as well, and it is not okay. And even for those of you who are not creators, that are simply here just supporting, the people of interest in your communities, even you guys have said that you can't use emojis, you can't say certain words, you write comments, you can't even send them, you write comments, they get deleted. The algorithm is all kind of effed up, and I ain't happy about it. You shouldn't be happy about it either. And there will come a day where maybe this platform isn't the most popular one. Let's hope for that. Anywho, just wanted to say thank you for being here, for the continued love and support in all the ways that you send it. Couldn't be more appreciative for each and every single one of you for just showing up, not only for me, but for yourself, and just knowing that we're all in this together. That's the main point of this channel, is A, to let you know that you're not alone, and B, to let you know that you're not cray-cray, okay? And as long as I can do that, then I'm doing my job, and I will continue to rant as hatefully as I may be towards this platform. I will continue to rant and say what I gotta say, regardless of the consequences, because it means that I get to reach somebody that is feeling alone and feeling crazy, and get to validate for them that they're exactly where it is that they need to be, that they're not alone, that they're not crazy, and that they have a whole freaking beautiful community of beautiful souls here to help support them in this current challenge, in this current adjustment. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for continuing to show your love, to show your support, not only for me, but for the other members in this community, because you all just show up. And I love that. Love that about us. Anyways, let me get on to my other rants. So what I first want to talk about, I mentioned it briefly. I don't know if you took a look at the Schumann Resonance, but we definitely jumped some kind of timeline. And I don't even know that we jumped a timeline as much as we had the current timeline be totally altered. And what I mean here is, and if you're on my Patreon, we had a good talk about this. I posted yesterday because I was coach bound. That energy knocked the shit right out of me. I was coach bound as if this was the first time I had ever even experienced an Ascension symptom. I had the cold shakes, the cold sweats. I had the indigestion, the burning acid reflux. I had nausea. I was hungry. I was everything and nothing all at the same time. My brain didn't work. Couldn't do a damn thing. If you asked me what my name was yesterday, I don't know that I would have been able to tell you. My mouth doesn't work. Nothing was working yesterday. And I know for many people, it actually started back at the new moon. It was a really rough new moon. I had a absolutely great day on Wednesday. I felt like a brand new person. I had energy. I went out in the world. I did things that I normally put off, that I hesitate to do. I connected with strangers. I felt revived. I felt like I was the new version of myself. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is good. This is the first day that I haven't been like depressed and overwhelmed and just like, suffocating with existential dread. I thought I was taking a turn for the better. And then I woke up yesterday and everything all went to hell. And you know what I realized? And I knew this before, but I'm really starting to accumulate a lot of data on this, is that we cannot have 2 good days in a row. I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm saying that as a realist, as an observer. Maybe it's just for myself. I don't know. Drop me a line in the comments. Let me know. But do you have 2 really good days in a row? Because I do not. I have one day that I'm on fire, that I feel like the best version of myself. And then the next day I feel like hammered shit and like I want to end it all. And that was yesterday for me. And I know this can get very tough, but I looked at the Schumann Resonance here yesterday. Not that I don't look at it every day, but the day before it really didn't strike me as being that monumental. Yesterday, it was monumental. We've seen huge amounts of healing energy come in and literally break up these old programs. Like you can see that on that Schumann Resonance chart. And previous to that, I think it was around the new moon, it actually looked like a doorway that we were walking through. Like, you cannot make this stuff up. It's legit. But yesterday I posted on my Patreon, like, hey guys, you're not getting much of me today because I feel like crap and my brain doesn't work, but here's why. So if you're feeling like crap, blame the energy. And I'm telling you, every single one of us from all around the world, I have supporters from all around the world. I am so blessed to have people tucked away in all different areas and corners of this world. And we all come together and we all talk about the fact that we're having the exact same experience, right? Like how, right? This is amazing. Even on my crappiest day when I just want to curl up into a ball and die, I feel just mind blown that we're all feeling the same way. Of course, my heart bleeds because I'm the type of person that I will take the pain, I will take the suffering if it means that nobody else has to have it. So my heart does hurt a little bit to know that people are out there suffering in the same amount, or if not more, than what I'm currently going through. Like, that breaks my heart for me. But at the same time, there's a lot of validation, there's a lot of comfort, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of good, warm, happy-go-lucky feelings that come out when you realize that you're not the only one going through it. That there are people all over the world at the same position as you are, the same circumstances as you are, and we just got to tough it out and hold the grid down, because that's what we're here to do. So it was an absolute shit show over the past couple of days with the energy blast coming in. And of course, if you take a look back at the Schumann Resonance and of course the solar flares, the CMEs popping off, we are at an all-time high. We had records be broken over this past week, and we will likely continue to see that just continue to be bumped up as we enter into this solar cycle. And of course, we get closer and closer to entering into a new solar cycle. And again, we talk about patterns, we talk about cycles, and there's a lot of overlapping cycles right now. And this is why the energy is so intense. And this is why the existential dread is so heavy and so thick. And so what I will say is it does feel like we shifted a timeline. But I think what happened is that there was just such a huge amount of healing that had taken place in this newest timeline that it feels like we're living into a new reality. It feels like we're moving into a new timeline. The beautiful thing, at the end of the day, doesn't matter if it's a new timeline or not, doesn't matter if it's a healed timeline or not. At the end of the day, what we know to be true is that there's some kind of change and that there's some kind of evolution, that we're moving forward in the right direction, and we are being prepped and primed for a very crazy March. Okay. If you want a heads up, if you don't want to wait until March 1st and you don't want to wait to the zodiac forecast in order to understand what's going to go down in March, go ahead, take a listen to my 2023 energy forecast for I think it's not the intro, it's part 1 that covers the first couple of months in 2023. Go ahead, take a listen. It's a very pivotal month. Very pivotal month. Things will never be the same after March. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having the brain capacity to actually sit down and be able to formulate and articulate what I think is going to happen. But that ain't today. Anyways, the dazed and confused situation that we got going on here is likely to continue, probably be even more amplified once Mercury moves into Pisces energy. We are being tossed around. We are in this washer machine of energies. We are kind of going through all the different cycles that you would expect to go through when you throw dirty clothes in and you expect them to come out clean. Keep in mind, Pisces season is the purification stage in order to cleanse us of the shadow elements of our existence, in order for us to be the most pure energy possible when we enter into Aries energy with the spring equinox, with the new astrological calendar. This is the stage that we are preparing for new life, for a new spark, for a new excitement, for a new chapter, for a new lesson, for a new series. All of that's coming with Aries energy. So we are being tossed around. We got some stains on our souls, right? That clothes is dirty. And we are on the heavy duty cycle. We're in the hot water cycle. We are being tossed around, agitated in all the right ways in order to break down that dirt and grime so that it can be kind of, isolated in the water, so it can go down the drain. It doesn't stick to our clothes and leave a film on them, so that we're not entering into a new astrological calendar with a bunch of crud on us. That's basically the way that I look at it. I hope that analogy helps you as well. Yes, the endings are going to become even more evident. The closer that we get to the end of Pisces, the more extreme and intense those endings and closures are going to be. It is natural for you to be at a breaking point. It is natural for you to say, you know what, can't take this anymore. Don't want to deal with this anymore. Not one day of this can I handle in this context. It is okay to get there. This is how a breakdown happens. We have to have our backs against the wall. We have to have the backs against the ropes. We have to get to the point where we no longer want to continue doing what it is that we do, so that we make a major change. That major change is coming with the new astrological calendar. The temperature fluctuations that we got going on, A, due to the energy coming in, B, due to Pisces season. Pisces season, I want you to think about water. I want you to think about all the stages that water can go through. It can be a solid, it can be a liquid, it can be a gas, it can be hot water, it can be warm water, it can be cold water, okay? We are going through every state that water can possibly take on as we move through Pisces season. That is the name of the game. That is the deal. In our physical body, we are likely running very cold in our extremities, very hot on the inside. There's a lot of inflammation, there's a lot of acid, there's a lot of fire energies that are really lit up in our inner realm, but our physical bodies, we are suffering from the coldness. Our fingers, our feet in particular. Pisces rules over the feet. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our feet. We want to make sure that we're not having injuries to our feet. We are very dizzy in our headspace, mostly because Mercury being in Aquarius energy, the dazed and confused energy of being in Pisces season as well is adding to the dizziness. The influx of energies coming into the crown is contributing to the head pressure, to the dizziness, and we are unstable on our feet. We are unsure, uncertain where it is that we're going, and therefore we are not as strong on our feet as we would like. We have cold feet for a reason, and we really need to understand the physical repercussions of the energy that we're currently sitting in. So the temperature fluctuations will continue. Having cold feet will continue. Being dizzy, being unstable and unsure will likely continue. Now, added on to that, we're going to throw some hunger sickness at you. Most of us have been going through the ebb and flow of being hungry and being nauseous and being stomach sick and then wanting junk food and then eating the junk food and then having our bodies reject said junk food. It's been very hard to find a happy medium with our diet, with adding physical fuel to our physical bodies. It has been a very tough job. The thing is that right now, especially in Pisces season, we want to abandon our physical realms in order to return home, back to source, which means that not only are we having hunger sickness, we're already having homesickness as well. We long for a home that we know is not here. That's okay. This kind of leads us into, and again, I don't mean to be negative. I don't mean to constantly be focusing on the shadow elements of this energy. But what I want to bring to your attention is that when you have a longing for home, when you are essentially homesick, it does kind of bring forth the weight of the loneliness, the weight of the isolation. Now, that is just an illusion as well, because again, we're all connected. We're not alone. We're in this together. But what I will say is that the more and more we desire to leave this earth realm and abandon our contracts to return home to source, the more we become alienated, isolated, and lonely here in this physical realm. As we near the end of this chapter, of this cycle, it is going to feel more and more lonely. That's why I say anytime that you're feeling alone, come back, read through the comments, recognize that there are thousands, if not millions of people going through the exact same thing that you are, experiencing the exact same things that you are, feeling the exact same way as you are. And that should be validation enough that you're not alone in this. And sometimes that's all you need is a reminder to know that you're not alone in this journey. Now, we are going to take on a whole new level of sensitivities, especially once Mercury moves into Pisces as well. In the Pisces energy, we always go through a spiritual and psychic upgrade, which means that our psychic abilities, we all have them, okay? We all have them. We're all psychic. Our psychic abilities will be ramping up. We are being put on blast at this particular point in time. So let's talk about it. First of all, we're extra sensitive, hypersensitive in our emotions. That's Pisces season. We will become extra sensitive and extra hypersensitive, I would say, in our negative thoughts once Mercury moves into Pisces energy. But I want you to pay attention to the voices that you're hearing, to the music that is playing, to the beeping or the sounds that you hear, because more than likely they're not from here. Okay. I've been walking around this house for the last 3 days, hearing this beeping that I swear has to be in this realm that isn't in this realm. And it's driving me nuts. And I cannot wait to find it either in this physical realm or in the astral realm or another ethereal realm and shut this beeping off, because nothing drives me more crazy than not being able to identify where certain sounds are coming from, and beeping especially cannot stand it. But we are blending our energies with the higher realms. And this means that I hate to say veil, because you know how I feel about the word veil. And if you don't know the way that I feel about the word veil, I think that it's ridiculous, because the veil is, non-existent most times. We're at the point in the stage of the awakening where the veil has been cracked wide open. There is no veil. Okay. Anyways, I digress. I feel like let's call them energetic boundaries that divide our realm from the other realms. Those energetic boundaries are not at full speed, not at full capacity. Therefore, there's bleeding. There's interdimensional bleeding going on. And we're having this bleed over, and therefore we are, we're expanding our consciousness here. We are pushing the boundaries of what our physical senses can actually pick up on, because again, our eyes only see a very small fragment of the light spectrum. Our ears only hear a very small fragment of the sound spectrum. And we are pushing the boundaries of what it is that our physical bodies are actually able to perceive. That being said, the voices, the music, the beeping, the sounds coming from a different place, pay attention to A, what is happening in your life, what it is that you're thinking, what it is that you're feeling when these particular situations take place, and B, try to identify whether or not the sounds, the voices, whatever it is that you're hearing, the auditory experience is familiar to you. Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Does it make you feel at home? How does it make you feel? Pay attention to that. Visually speaking, we've been going through this eye blurry stage, mostly because we're in Pisces season. So it does kind of feel like we have our eyes open underwater. There's a little bit of a burning sensation that happens there. I've been having blurry visions more so over the last 3 days than anything else, just due to the influx of light. But what I would say is that our vision is changing. Our vision is adapting so that we're able to A, pick up on our physical realm, but B, push the boundaries of the light spectrum that we're actually able to perceive, and we're able to pick up on orbs and lights and sparkles and threads of light from other realms. And so we have to expect these changes. Maybe it's painful. Maybe your eyes are constantly watering. Maybe it feels like you have sand in your eyes. Maybe, your eyes are burning and warm, but yet are tearing up all the time, which is an oxymoron in itself. Just pay attention to how it is that your vision is changing. The feels, the sensations are going to become a little bit more overwhelming as well, because again, our extrasensory perception is increasing as well, which means that you're likely to have more opportunities for goosebumps. What is goosebumps? It's a change in the electromagnetic frequencies around your physical body. That's a good way to pick up on whether or not there are other elements entering into your space that your physical body cannot perceive at that time. Physical sensations, as in you walking through a entity, if you will. I want you to pay attention to temperature changes in your physical realm. That is also indicative of a spiritual entity entering into your space. With the overlapping of the interdimensional bleed, you just have to expect that we're picking up on some weirdness that we're not usually exposed to. And because, we're kind of in this hijacked sensory experience right now with the Great Awakening, with the world's ending as we know it and the new one, beginning to form in front of our eyes, that there is going to be a lot of weirdness. Things don't feel right. Can't put your finger on it, but something doesn't feel right. Something may feel off that you may not be able to describe. Just understand that this is your physical abilities coming online, because they are online, but being activated and upgraded in such a way that all of us will be picking up on different levels of subtle energies that we haven't been able to pick up on as of yet. This is a new thing. We have never gotten this far in the human experience. So we have to understand that the fluctuations of the energy are going to have a direct impact on our physical bodies, and therefore our sensory system needs to adjust accordingly. So it goes without saying that we're pretty low on Fs. We're pretty low on patience. Right? We really don't care. We just want to wrap this thing up, move on. We don't know what we're moving on to, but anything other than this chaos and craziness would be ideal. We don't know what awaits us. That's part of the uncertainty that many of us are feeling, but that's okay, because the way that I look at it, if we continue to do what it is that we've already done and we continue to get what we've already got, then that really limits us in evolution. So we have to put ourselves out there in different ways and do different things in order to gain new experiences. We don't know what we're going to get when we do something different because we've never done it before. So that's kind of where we're at, but we're also not gifted with the green light go ahead to actually take action and move those boots into new, rooms of opportunity, so to speak, because we're at an ending point, a closing point, a purging point, a releasing point. What the Pisces energy is all about. We have a lot of deep healing going on, whether you realize it or not. That's what Pisces energy is all about, is healing us back to our raw, authentic state so that we can enter into a new astrological calendar as light as possible. So I talked about our sleep state, our dream state being whack as F. I think we can all agree that there's been a dramatic shift in our sleep state and our dream state. There are cryptic, prophetic messages coming forth. There are some night terrors taking over again. We have to understand that all manipulation comes from other realms. Evildoers exist in other realms, and they try to control the astral realm state, the dream state, if you will, to create and invoke fear. Because if they can't get you while you're awake, they best going to get you while you're asleep. And sometimes that can be very troubling. And we're just in the time in the season where Pisces energy and Neptune, who rules over Pisces, is all about dreams and illusions. It's about just as much about our fears as it is our dreams. So sometimes when you think about it, we all have a dream. But what comes with that dream? The automatic opposite effect of what we're afraid of that's preventing us to actually get there. And so this is why our dream state is popping off, mostly on the negative, because we're trying so hard in the run of our daily lives to not step in the fear that they're going to try and get you one way or another. So just understand that there is an attack on our energy, on our mental plane, on our narrative, and their drug of choice is fear. It's the drug of choice when you're awake. It's the drug of choice when you're asleep. So just understand that when you wake up out of these dream states and, your heart is racing and you're sweating to death and there is this level of fear, to remind yourself in that moment, say those mantras: I am safe. I am protected. I am secure. I am safe. I am protected. I am secure. Say it 3 times. Say it as many times as you need to until your heart rate comes, until you feel good about yourself, because there is going to be a dramatic shift in our dream content. So I talked about how we're kind of running hot on the inside and how we're having these digestive issues. Again, the digestive issues are likely never going to not be a thing, because our digestion and our whole digestive system runs off nerves. And nerves are the central nervous system. And the central nervous system is the antenna of emotion, or emotional compass, if you will, that our soul needs in order to basically move through this physical experience. So we're likely going to be on top with the digestion issues this whole experience, this whole journey. But this week, I think that acid reflux, gas, feeling that air bubble underneath your rib, is definitely going to be a thing. And a lot of that is just because we're going through solar plexus recalibration right now, where we're really being tested in our strength and what we believe in and what our will is and what it is that we're determined and motivated to actually do. And so there is this readjustment, and it is attacking our solar plexus. So that gas bubble right below your rib, the acid reflux, that burning sensation coming up in the back of your throat. We're running hot on the inside. We're running cold on the outside. There will be a lot of throat clearing, mostly because we're gasping for air. Why are we gasping for air? Well, because we're thrown into the ocean. What happens when you're being kind of exhausted from treading of water? You lose your breath. What happens when you're afraid of stopping treading water? You feel like you're going to drown. What happens when you have all of this extra water pressure pushing force, G-force on your physical body? You feel exasperated. We feel like we don't have enough air. We feel like we're gasping for air. We feel like we're drowning. We're in a washer machine. We are drowning. We're drowning under the unconscious process of purging, releasing, and healing that we need to go through in order to be prepared for Aries season to pop off. The throat clearing is like we're trying not to drown. We're trying to keep our airways open. We're trying to, just breathe. We just want to breathe. And realistically speaking, Pisces season requires us to do 2 things: surrender and breathe. I often say, if you can imagine yourself moving through Pisces season, floating on your back in the middle of the ocean and trusting that the waves crashing upon you will guide you to the shoreline, that is the best way to go about Pisces season. Trust that you will be guided to safety. Trust that you will be guided to stability. Trust that you will arrive on stable land, on safe ground when this journey is over. Now, we talked about the dizziness. We talked about the instability. A lot of that is just because we're in a dazed and confused situation. We also talked about the fact that our legs are not strong enough. We're having cold feet. We don't know how to move forward. What I also want to talk about is the itchiness in your head, the itchiness in your ears, the itchiness in the back of your throat, behind your eyeballs. All of this is due to the increased energies coming into the crown. If you need to put a hood on or a hat on to slow those energies down, by all means, go do it. Itching is absolutely a good sign of healing, of shifting, of transforming. However, when you just want to take a pen and jam it in your ear hole and dig in your brain to try and itch that itch, and you can't, that is enough to drive you freaking crazy. And that's what we are going to be experiencing. You ever have that itch in the back of your throat where you just want to swallow your tongue, where you're rubbing it on the back of the back or the roof of your mouth, just wanting to swallow it just to get rid of the itch? Expect lots of that. Again, plays into the throat clearing. But the itchiness on the head may feel like that worm. We talked about the energy worm, that headache that tends to move around your head. Pay attention to the sore spots in your hair and on your head, like physically, because that is the entry point of the light codes coming in from your crown. Massage that area. Maybe if you're running hot, put a cold pack on it. If you're running cold, put a heat pad on it. Put a hat on, put a hood on it. Veil it, right? Wrap it up. Slow the energies down until you can kind of catch your breath and gain your vision and gain your footing. you have to do what you have to do in order to slow the energies down. That being said, with your feet, you should be wearing socks because you have cold feet anyways, so you should be wearing socks, but you may have to double up on that. And what I would also say is that now's not the greatest time for earthing, for grounding. One would think that maybe you want to earth and ground, but the earth is going through an unstable energetic charge as well, so I don't know that we're going to gain a lot of grounding energy from the earth as of yet. I would say to bundle up those tootsies and to have multiple layers of socks and rubber-soled shoes or slippers on at all times for the moment. That will definitely be changing, but for the moment, that is a way in order to kind of gain the stable, grounded footing that we would hope to reach by putting our bare feet on the earth. We're not getting that. Gaia is going through her own instability, through her own shifting. We don't want to tap into an unstable source when we're already unstable ourselves. So do what you can to block those particular energy connections off so that you can at least find some stable footing in your own individual energy. Same with the hands. We've been going through these hand chakra activations. Put gloves on, black gloves specifically. If your hands are burning, rub salt and cold water on your hands. If your hands are cold, obviously the mitts or the gloves are going to help as well, but clapping and rubbing your hands together to create energetic friction and to get that chi ball kind of, elevated and growing in between your two hands and your two palm chakras, that is how you bring the balance back, not only to the temperature, but to the energetic charges that are obviously getting all effed up, all gunked up, and creating a little bit of tension, swollen energy in your fingers, cramps in your fingers, just uncomfortable situations in your wrists, in your hands, and in your fingers. Put gloves on, massage your hands. All the things that I just rattled off are very helpful things to do to try and slow those ascension symptoms down. So guys, I think that's all that I have for you this week. I know I talked really, really quick. I'm surprised that I even took a breath through all of that, but as you may know, my brain is not working well. And one would say, well, geez, if that's your brain not working well, I'd hate to see it working. Well, that may be the case, but that's every other day when I can't sleep, when I can't focus, when I can't produce anything because there's too many thoughts going on in my head. So even though having brain fog and not being able to think as quickly or as smartly as I usually do, although it may be a break, it doesn't feel fun, and I just want to get all the things off of my to-do list here today so that I can just zone out and stare at a wall. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank you for spending your time, your energy, your attention with me, with all of us here in the chat. I just want to thank you so much for the love and support. And I want to thank you for showing up for me, but I also want to thank you for showing up for yourself. You're not alone. You're not cray-cray. We're in this together. I'm sending you tons of love, and I hope you have a great week.